For everybody who doesn't know, that's the JPL is Jet Propulsion Laboratory. So they work on everything that NASA's working on, satellites, extraterrestrial stuff.
The rovers on Mars, all that, right?
That's the group that I worked with.
One stacker on a journey to find silver. International Stacker.
Cash.
What's your dog's name?
Johnny Cash.
What's up, Johnny?
Say hi. Johnny, say hi.
What's up, Johnny? Can I trouble you for a silver dollar, please, sir?
How's it going?
What is up, man?
I'm good. How are you?
So tell the viewers, who are you?
I am Dave, living in San Diego at the moment, and welcome to America's finest city.
Okay, well, I love it. And how long have you been a viewer of the channel for?
About 6 months or so.
6 months. So pandemic, a little pandemic.
I've increased my online networking.
What sector do you work in, if you don't mind me asking?
So I used to be in physics, but now I'm a data analyst. So I work with numbers.
Dang, guys, I'm gonna tell them who you are. I didn't want people to know I'm literally here with Elon Musk. Okay, Elon Musk. We're about to send Dogecoin to the moon. I mean, you did tell me you're going to JPL tomorrow, I thought, right?
I used to work at JPL,
Did you?
actually. It's a fun place. You have some really intelligent, really fun people working up there. And they do amazing work. So for everybody who doesn't know, that's the JPL is Jet Propulsion Laboratory. So they work on everything that NASA's working on, satellites, extraterrestrial stuff.
The rovers on Mars, all that, right?
That's the group that I worked with. So the group that designed the chassis for that 6-wheeled rover.
Okay, guys, we're changing the whole trajectory of this interview right now. Where are the aliens? Hangar 15?
They're already here, haven't you heard?
Am I a reptilian? With your experience and expertise, all jokes aside, do you think we are the only sentient beings in the entire universe, galaxy, whatever the heck it's called? Galaxy's a galaxy? I don't know. Or do you think there's something else out there, but it might look totally different than us type thing? What do you think?
Oh,
What's more possible, I guess? Is it more possible that we're the only things that...
Statistically, it's probable. It's likely that there is something else out there. With so many universes and so many galaxies and so many other planets that are similar to Earth, the likelihood of another species evolving is high. So if you ever wanted to go a deep dive, look at the Fermi paradox for extraterrestrials.
Okay.
And it's a really interesting thing of why maybe we haven't seen them yet, why we haven't seen extraterrestrials.
Well, because it's so big and everything's the speed of light, it would take forever. I think our existence is like that in terms of like the universe, right?
Well, that's exactly it. So
Okay.
we could be first. We could be the first. So this is involved in the Fermi paradox, but we could be the first ones. And other civilizations are just, a million years later. So we are the first, and that's why we haven't seen them. There could be some other issue that comes up, that when a civilization reaches a certain technology level, they go and destroy themselves. We don't know. There's really no way to tell until we get there. So that's why it's a paradox. We really don't have the answer for it right now.
Do you think there could be an alien species that feeds on gold and silver?
Yeah.
Oh no! Hide your stacks!
Humans do it all the time.
Bury your stacks! I'm gonna eat your silver bugs!
I think there is a bacteria that feeds off of gold.
Oh dear Lord,
I'll
that's
have
not
to check
good.
that. But there is an interesting one. So Chernobyl happened, and on the walls of Chernobyl, it was a meltdown. So there's a lot of radiation, which usually kills all organic matter. Everything that's alive
But
usually
something
dies.
survived, right?
It's actually thriving. There's some mold or I think it's a bacteria that's growing on the walls of some of the plant, the control rooms, and they found it, and it's thriving because it's getting fed by radiation. So if you go back to basic physics, energy and light are pretty interchangeable, and you can convert light. Plants do this all the time. They take energy and they use it to grow. So depending on how your organism is set up, you can take energy, whether it's light that we can see like the sun, ultraviolet light, or in this case high energy rays coming out of the uranium reactor, and you can use it to grow.
Next question. Do you think, and this is that I've been thinking a lot about, I think the next frontier is mining our meteors, right, for metals and stuff. So one, do you think that's plausible if the technology catches up? And two, if that happens, is it going to collapse the gold and silver market on in the world because there's so much more of it, or is it going to help it because the cost per ounce is going to be astronomical to get it?
Astronomical, great choice of words right there. There's a big discussion about this right now. They just found some meteor that's got literally hundreds of tons of gold and precious metals on it. So you have to understand how big of an endeavor this is. And space is really hard to wrap your head around in terms of scale. So if you were to think of like the Earth as a tennis ball, I think the International Space Station is just a couple of millimeters above the surface.
Sorry guys, we just had to edit that one out.
So the International Space Station sits relatively close to that tennis ball, which is the Earth. But then if you look at how far away the moon is, it's a couple of diameters of that tennis ball further away. So it's much, much further away. So then if you start looking at meteors flying out beyond our moon's orbit, these are really, really large distances. And trying to understand how much energy it takes just to get out into space and then travel to an asteroid, and we have to mine it, and then you got to bring it back. Bringing it back is also a huge problem. So even if we're, taking the moon, which is closer, we can get stuff to the moon, but thinking of taking it back is just going to be not conceivable. Right now, look what we're doing on Mount Everest right now. Mount Everest, people go up out of Everest and they leave waste products, they leave plastic bottles,
they leave poop.
Human waste. I was trying to be nice about it. They leave oxygen bottles, and that's just up a mountain, and we can't get that stuff down. They leave bodies. So think of getting that up into space where you're dealing with tens of thousands of miles.
So maybe we can mine it, but we're not going to be able to bring it back down. Like,
there's a lot of technology that needs to go to do that. So
dude, we'll just take it to freaking Moon Base 7, bro.
There you go.
So do you agree with Elon that, like, in order for us to survive, we need to be a multi-planetary species and end up colonizing another planet somewhere?
Do we need to be is an interesting question. So human species is very, very susceptible to temperature changes. So if you put a human in Antarctica with no jacket, we're dead in minutes.
Right.
So we're very, very sensitive to temperature changes. Look at what happened with the volcano out of Europe a few years back, where you had soot put up in the earth and it cooled the whole atmosphere down by a couple of degrees.
And planes couldn't fly in that area, right? Because the volcanic ash could, like, destroy 100%. The engine.
Yeah. So, but it blocked part of the sun and reflected it away. It's like putting those silver screens on the front of your car.
A nuclear winter?
That was a volcanic one, but yeah. But either nuclear winter, or if you just consider an asteroid coming in and hitting the planet, if it puts up enough debris in the atmosphere, that's going to cool our planet down, and that potentially could be an extinction level event. So that promotes this idea of us getting off planet as a necessary device. That it just improves our chances, right? So if you're looking at stacking precious metals, you don't have all your stuff at one house. You have it at multiple places, because if one gets hit, flooded, burned, tornadoed, there you go. You want to have other places that you have access to. And this would be the same lines. If something were to come and take over Earth or destroy Earth or a part of Earth, we want to have another place that we can go.
What's more likely? For the Earth to get hit by a meteor that's like large enough to cause a major problem, or for a coronal mass ejection to happen and kind of back, was it the Harrington or the Carrington event in the 1800s, where there's an EMP created by one of those and it destroyed our telegrams? But if that happened today, like, everyone would, like, it would be a bloodbath. Yeah.
So CMEs are really interesting. That was actually part of my research in graduate school. CMEs are coronal mass ejections. So CMEs are a burst of energy that come, and where the problem with that is if you have a power line, it's a cable, or your cord to your computer, and if an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse, comes and interacts with that line, it produces a strong current down the line, and that's going to go and blow up your computer, or in the case of power lines, it's going to blow up transformers, and that's the problem we're looking at.
The guy got burnt in the 1800s, I think, right? The guy that was like...
I believe so. That's a cool story. I haven't read that in a long time. I gotta look that up again. But the idea is that our stuff is so sensitive now that that's going to ruin all electronics. So where do we come back from there? I mean, our grid is it would take months, if not years, to fix that.
Well, I know from my work, like, how vulnerable our grid is with the 3 branches, and you know what I mean? It's super vulnerable. It's crazy.
This is awesome, actually, because you're in emergency response, right? So crypto is an interesting place. So if we have a flood, there's no power. So how do I buy anything? If the only medium of exchange that I have is crypto, what do I do?
Like, am I going to write down my key on a piece of paper and go, here you go, cash it in when the power's back?
100%. So, no, I'm really interested in, it'd be nice, quote unquote, to go to a digital currency, either a CBDC or a crypto. That's what people want to do. But at the end of the day, if you're losing power for a variety of reasons, what do you do? Any answers for that?
Well, yes, but to piggyback off that real quick, I think a digital currency is the worst thing. I think all government wants it because they can get max taxation. You're selling stuff at a garage sale or flipping stuff at Comic-Con, they can get max tax. 2, they know what everyone has. They can get metrics on what you're buying, what you're interacting with. And 3, they can put in monetary policy like inflation, which is hashtag the hidden tax, folks. Inflation's a hidden tax. So if everyone's digital, they can enforce that. Guess what? If you don't like what the government's doing, you go to a protest in Sector 7. Oh, so-and-so went to Sector 7. Let's go ahead and shut down his money because now he's a terrorist. You know what I mean? So I really think it's a threat to liberty if it's purely a digital currency that's run by governments. And if we go that way, there's no way in the world the governments are not going to create their own digital currency and manage it.
Well, they're already doing it. The digital yuan already came out. The U.S. is already talking about a CBDC. So they're already working on it.
And you know what? Basically, we have a digital currency anyway, because most of the U.S. dollars that are in existence are digital digits on a screen anyway, right? So,
100%.
All right, back to your other question. So there are a few answers for that. I forget the name of this technology, but there's technology that creates like micro networks. So like if it was EMP'd and you had no electronics,
it's like a mesh network, I think?
You would be screwed. But if it was a flood or something where you lost power, but you have phones that have power and you can charge them by banks or whatever, like it will be like you'll go to somebody, it will transfer the information to their phone. Then they go to someone so it's like a virus. And it eventually will work through the people without a centralized network. So it's more of a micro mesh network, but it will spread through until eventually it gets to where it's going to go. So there's technologies with cryptos I was looking at back in the day that are talking about that, but there's technology with like apps that some folks use on like ships and stuff where there is not like internet connection or whatever. So there are actually technologies I think you could kind of make that work. But one of the big things I've been thinking about with emergency management is drones. Drones are going to be huge. So if we have a huge flood somewhere, we fly some drones out there, 1, to get what's called a COP, a common operating picture, and see what's going on. But 2, that can be your mesh network right there. And all the first responders, everyone can, communicate. My phone I'm filming on right now is part of FirstNet. That's the special network for emergency response and management. So there are some solutions, but I agree with you, extremely vulnerable. And if you don't have FirstNet technology or that app or whatever, we're a long ways away. So I think to hit your point, I think you're trying to allude to was physical gold and silver you can use in pretty much any scenario, whereas cryptos you can't.
Yeah, or anything that people know that or have a perceived value of. So it's interesting, this debate around physical currency or paper currency right now, because everyone's like, oh, it's worthless. Actually, it has value today. Right now,
people believe in it.
Yeah, I can go to a store and exchange it for goods and services. I can go and buy food with it. So right now, this is a big pet peeve of mine. There's 2 conversations to have. Obviously, I come from an academic background, and that's part of what I do. But there's a very abstract, hey, in 20 years, this is worthless, it'll be devalued, 100%, and you should take that into consideration. But also, I can take it today. Like in my wallet, I have paper currency. I have some silver on me too, but I have paper currency because if I want to walk in somewhere, I want to have that paper currency.
Well, man, this has been a long interview, but it's been super interesting. We talked about gold and silver. We've talked about the future. We talked about aliens. So what do you call the whole universe? Just space or the universe? Because it's multiple universes, right? Like, what would you refer to everything outside of Earth?
Well, there's one universe. There's multiple galaxies. There's multiple
so it's
solar
just
systems.
Universe.
Yeah, so everything is contained in the universe.
That's what I thought, but I'm here with a dude from JPL, so I want to make sure. And I just remembered when I went to JPL, the rage back then was the Astrogel? Aerogel. I got to see it. They're like, that little piece like weighs this much and costs like however much to make.
It's horribly expensive. One of the companies I used to work for, we produce it.
Yeah, okay.
As part of the things. It's got some really interesting bulk properties. It's very expensive to make, and right now we can only make small units of it or small volumes of it. But its properties are amazing. You can put it between your hand and a flame, and you're totally fine, even though it weighs basically nothing.
Was it meant to catch little specks off a asteroid or a meteor or something? They were gonna no.
No, they're trying to figure out its purpose. it's this really innovative technology, but we're trying to figure out exactly what it can be used for. Or there's different markets for it that are kind of evolving right now, but it's very lightweight, and it basically, think of a sponge, but a really, really low density sponge. And that's part of the benefits, is it has cavities inside of it, and that's what gives it these unique properties.
And you said you're going to do a giveaway on YouTube for some Astrogel, right? Aerogel.
I gotta make some first.
Cool, man. Well, it's been great. Is there anything you want to say to the viewers before you sign off? Any advice or anything you want to flag for people?
You know, just keep your wits about you. Keep learning. That's my biggest thing. Obviously, I've done my share of learning, and I'm still doing it. We can look at just the precious metals market, but you have to understand how you're interacting with all of society, right? Learn what you have and how you can get rid of it. So the reason we're stacking metals is if you want to transfer wealth to your kids, that's great. So just think of not only your entrance, but also your exit strategy. I think that's pretty important.
Well, super wise words, because exit strategy does matter big time, and a lot of people don't think that far ahead. And please let me know if you ever make a YouTube channel, because I think it'd be extremely interesting. I encourage you to talk about some of the stuff we talked about today, because I think people would find that interesting. I think, like, in my profession is pretty interesting, but I'm desensitized to it, so you might be the same. So I think things you might think are boring topics or whatever, I guarantee you people would eat them up, because I've had such a great time. So again, thank you. It's been a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for this awesome Benjamin Franklin, and I'm gonna send you one of my challenge coins as soon as I get them done. I'm procrastinating. I know. I'm gonna get it done, folks.
Next interview, we'll turn the camera around, we'll talk about your industry, and we'll kind of play it from there.
That sounds fun. And what do we say?
Catch you on the next one.
Catch you on the next one. Woo!
One stacker on a journey to find silver. International Stacker.